Hold on. No, so what do I got to do?
Okay, remove us. It doesn't matter. You went live.
You
Run a
said go
show.
live.
Oh, I know, but run a show.
Oh, you're killing me, girl. Hi, everybody. Dorothy.
Welcome to the 8th hour of Unstoppable
Thank you.
Camaraderie Fundraiser for heroes, badges, and warriors. What did I say this was? The 8th hour. Yes, the 8th hour. I said the 8th hour.
It is the 8th hour.
You have your run a show up yet?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. You move. You take over.
All right. I am
Can
Kimberly.
you guys still see me because I lost me?
No, we can see you perfectly.
Oh. Well,
she was mentioning that we were all frozen earlier, but
okay.
I'm going to take her off. Finish your run a show.
Okay. All right. Let's start this over. Redo. Welcome to the 8th hour of the TCRMI 24-hour fundraiser to bring awareness to our veterans who struggle with PTSD and losing hope. I am Kimberly Genovese, your live stream host for the hour, and my connection with veterans is TCRMI and my amazing cousins who are like brothers to me. Shout out to Tony and Rocky and Aldo. And this event, which runs until 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, October 8th, brings awareness of the programs TCRMI has and the collaborations we have made with other organizations and how we help veterans gain hope while living with PTSD. If you'd like to make a donation, you can do so by going to the link in the tickler and in the comments, https:// right? Tiny URL /hope for vets. Or to donate by check, you can make it out to Camaraderie Rescue Mission, Inc. and mail it to Greg Bicknell, USAF CM Sergeant Retired, 1532 Cord Grass Lakeland, Florida 33813. So we appreciate all your donations. Every dollar counts and changes lives. Over these 24 hours, there will be live stream shows going on with supporters and veterans sharing their stories and the organizations that help make a difference in our veterans' lives. And let us know where you are tuning in from around the world so we can appreciate you showing up today. TCRMI is a veteran organization that was founded by Mr. Greg Bicknell, who is a retired Air Force veteran after serving 29 years. Mr. Bicknell had brain surgery that did not go well, and the result was to be medically discharged. In his journey, he realized that he needed help after having suicidal ideation, and after getting up the courage to ask for help, he was told to make an appointment. That lit a fire under Mr. Bicknell and was the driving force to start TCRMI so that no one else would have to endure being put on a waiting list once they decided to reach out for help. TCRMI exists to revitalize and enrich the mental, physical, and spiritual and emotional health of active military and veterans, first responders, and the communities that they serve. Dorothy Odell and her dear friend Tim Schoen decided to come alongside TCRM due to her love of helping her veteran family and knowing that 28 veterans a day die by suicide, that something needs to change. She and Mr. Bicknell on her Monday night show, Unstoppable Overcomers, on January 31st of 2022, episode number 44, if you want to check it out on our YouTube channel, Unstoppable Overcomers. Dorothy and Tim have done other 24-hour stream fundraisers for cancer, so they thought, why not help our veterans? So here we are. Dorothy and myself are on fire to help TCRMI grow and help save veteran lives. So that is why we are here today, to show up, to change lives. Dorothy and myself also serve on the board of TCRMI and are here to make the difference. There are hundreds of veterans and first responders struggling with hope and feeling lost. Each person's story is different. Each person is impacted in a different way, as we have discovered on Unstoppable Overcomers. TCRMI is always hard at work with its many programs, including Just Coffee and Camaraderie. Now, I would like to introduce you to Janet Wizawati. Did I pronounce that right, Dorothy?
Wizwati.
Thank you. And Janet, I apologize up front for butchering your name at 1 a.m. Janet is an author helping to write a book about TCRMI. So let's bring Janet up.
I'm here.
Here she is.
Yeah, and it's Wizawati. You just ignore the S.
Wizawati.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, welcome to the show, Janet, and thanks for being such a trooper and being on in the midnight hours with us.
Well, I have to let a cat out of the bag. It's only 10 o'clock here where I am.
Sorry.
I'm in the Yukon right now.
Wow. You know what? That's perfect. It's actually perfect. And it also speaks that this is a global show.
It is.
And so that, and we couldn't be more tickled that it's only 10 there for you. So yeah. We should have Dorothy, we should have her running the show.
Oh, yeah. I don't think you guys want me to do that. I had problems even getting on here. So.
Well, you know what, and really thank you. Like we can't thank you enough for who you are and who you are for the organization. And tell us a little bit about the book that you're in the process of creating.
Well, I told Greg I'd help him with it. I'm not going to write it all. He can tell his stories and we'll work on it. I'm not. I did my own book last year and just coordinated it with 20 other authors. And that's what I love doing, is coaching through that process and encouraging and help them draw out what they've got. So just to help him get what he wants out. And then there'll be other experts that'll come together to make it happen. But I'm a cheerleader, for a better word, for Greg, and very honored to be part of this.
Well, Janet, why don't you share with us how your cheerleading got started? What is it about Greg and the organization that has you cheering them on?
Well, I went through my own PTSD as a retired emergency police dispatcher. In 2003, I was diagnosed. And it wasn't until about a year and a half ago, or a little more than that, that I was introduced to the power of our story with Sarah Corral. And that's where I met Greg. And instantly we liked what each other was talking about, and I liked what he was doing. And so we've been talking ever since, on and off. And then he says, "Oh, I'm going to be on with I guess it was, when did you say his was on? In January last year? Because Greg,
this year. Yeah, just this year.
Yeah, this coming up there. So, and then I was going to be coming up. So it was kind of neat to be on this journey together. And he's doing great work, and so are you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
But that's my background with the RCMP.
Fantastic. And tell us a little bit about, your experience with PTSD, because, it really does make a difference, Janet. People, it just seems in the world that we live in today, and all of the media and the numbness, right, is that people can't really relate because they don't really get to hear how it affects people.
Yeah. And you know what? I went through it. I didn't know. I had no idea. I had been in 2002, had been in a bad car accident. And so I was off work. I was not mentally capable of taking emergency calls and dealing with it. I just didn't have that capacity. And there was one night in early 2003, I couldn't sleep and was sitting up in the dark and crying, wishing I'd died in that car accident. And it was just a mental thing. Like my injuries were healable, but so I knew this little light sort of said you need help. And so the first psychologist I was sent to, and I want everybody to hear this, if you do not connect or feel comfortable with someone, do not work with them ever. You know what? There's other people out there that can help you. And fortunate for me, I went on the search for somebody that I could relate to and found somebody. And the first session with her, she says, this has nothing to do with car accident. This has everything to do with your job. And she diagnosed me. And I had no idea, but I had years of health problems, years of, just, and I'd had surgeries and that. And looking back on all of that, what I would say to people, look at your health. These are yellow flags. See what's going on, because we feel it in our body before it comes out anywhere else. And our bodies start to deteriorate and fall apart. And with first responders, whether military, emergency nurses, and, doctors, anybody that's on the front line, that, we learn to stuff everything down, because in order to do our jobs, we can't have any emotion. That emotion can't be there. So, when I was going through all this before I saw the psychologist, memories were coming up. Memories of a police officer I'd been close to who had committed suicide, and a child calling in the middle of the night because their mom was getting beaten up. And that child could have been the same age as my granddaughter, and maybe even the same school. And I knew my granddaughter was safe at home in bed, but I was virtually had to keep all that emotion down in order to do my job. I couldn't help anybody if I'm getting emotionally involved. Right. And I really believe, and this has been said and brought up before, and I really start to believe it, because I always said, if it's affecting me emotionally, if it's something that I'm emotionally connected to, like that police officer, like that child, and some other things, that affects me. I can deal with any emergency. But when it's an emotional connection that I feel helpless at, I think they call that a moral issue too. Morally, how does it damage us? And so, any of those officers and military, like they'll say, they go in to do whatever they have to do, and everything gets shoved down. But in my case, because of the car accident, I wasn't able to be busy. I wasn't able to keep going. I was a busy person. I was raising grandkids. I was working full time. I was volunteering, and then all of a sudden I had to sit, and I couldn't do anything to push anything down. And I think that lots of times when they go into retirement, okay, we don't have a purpose anymore. What's our purpose?
Yeah.
How do you navigate those emotions, or your time, or your, and I think we do them a disservice. Anybody that is in any of these careers where they've committed their lives to, because really you sign on that dotted line, you've committed your life, and you follow the rules, and you do this, and so your own personality in that is squashed, your own exuberance, your happiness, and that. What I found, and I did not realize till after I worked as a psychologist, I wasn't laughing, I wasn't having fun anymore. I didn't know that. Like maybe people around, like you talk to any of the guys and they'll say, or any of them that have retired or come out of this, and you talk to them and their families will say, well, you changed.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily see that.
Right.
That's a process, right?
Right.
So what Greg is doing is helping them go back into that taking time, especially on his taking them out on the sailboats where they have no connections with electronics and stuff. That's giving them time,
right,
to reflect and to look back.
Yeah.
And when I'm coaching, what I do is I have them go back to the time. What did you absolutely love doing when you were a kid? And then for them to realize it wasn't so much what they wanted to do, but more of how it made them feel.
Right.
If a kid wants to be a fireman, they see them on the TV and they're heroes and they're this and that. So what is it you really want? And so just to give you an example, when I was 6, my dad got his fixed wing pilot's license. I loved going up in the plane with him. He could do anything in that plane with me, and I was happy. And to this very day, if there's turbulence, I'm okay with it. It's fun. So, and then when I was 9, I read a book about a stewardess. And this is language for anybody who's not as old as me. That means a flight attendant, but they were called stewardesses. They wore these cute little hats. And so at 9,
kind of like a fax machine, right, Janet?
Yeah.
There's languages that people like, what's that? Like, what's a telephone booth? Yeah. Keep going.
So then when I got old enough to apply for that, I couldn't get the job because in those days there were restrictions. I was too short and I wore glasses. And at that time, you had to be a certain height and you couldn't wear glasses. And so fast forward to after I retired, I did contracting as a dispatcher in the Arctic. And so one day I found in old books and papers and stuff, I found a piece of paper I'd written, I want to fly above the clouds. I didn't date it. I date everything I write now. But I don't know how old I was when I wrote it or anything. It was in with some school stuff. And I looked out the window. I was flying up to the Arctic to do some work. And I looked out the window and I thought, oh my God, I'm flying above the clouds. I'm not serving anybody and somebody else has paid for my ticket. So that's the feeling, right?
Yeah.
It's not so much the act as the feeling. So if we can get back to the feeling that they wanted or what they thought they were going into when they went into their careers, let's backstep from that. What's that feeling? And let's see how we can bring that feeling into something that is a passion.
Sure.
A passion and a mission and a vision for you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And how's that been working?
It's great. I love it. When I work with somebody and watch them grow, it's like friggin' amazing.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed. I've been trained with, Jack Canfield, if anybody knows him, Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Sure.
I started training with Jack in 2010. I met him at the first event and then I haven't stopped. And he's amazing and he gives so many tools. And to give you an example, in 2010, I was at what he calls, it's 2010 or 2012, can't remember. He did a 7-day event called Breakthrough to Success. And there was, 300-400 people in there. And all of a sudden there's a guy, we were winding down and it was day 6. And there's a guy at the back of the room standing on a chair yelling, Jack, Jack. And finally Jack says, yes, what? And he says, I want to tell you, I was in Desert Storm, and what I learned in these 6 days has helped me more than anything else has helped me. And he says, and I can't be here tomorrow, so I had to tell you now.
Wow.
There is help there, and there is people that care, and again, what Greg is doing and what some of the other ones, I know some of the other ones that are going to be on your show, these guys are on a mission. They've had a mission. That mission isn't there anymore. So they're using their tools that they've gained and what they've learned to help others.
Yes, absolutely. Can you say a little bit more about the event with Jack Canfield? Because I know that would be really amazing for others to hear more about that. Did the gentleman happen to share what it was specifically, or some bits and pieces of that?
He didn't, but like I've been, in fact, actually this weekend he does a virtual one now, so I'm in that right now during the day. But anything, Jack's got books out, he's got videos out, he's got programs, and just, Google Jack Canfield, you'll find them. His team is amazing. Yeah. And I highly recommend anybody. And his mission is to have 1 million trainers out there training others to help them live their dreams, live their goals, and be healthy and happy.
Yeah.
And so I'm one of the certified trainers, and you know what? It's forever learning. And we're different people each time we go back. And that's why I tell people, you go to one thing, like these people that are going with Greg and going to the equine program or the sailing program, whatever, in 1-2 years from now, they're different people. Go back and revisit those places because you hear better. So to give an example, I also have volunteered at Jack used to do before COVID, one day to greatness, I think it was called. And I volunteered. So I went down to Miami for a day with him. And then I went to Dallas, and I'm sitting in the back of the room at one of those events. And I've been around with him for a long time, studied with him. And I'm sitting back and he's teaching something that about vision boards. And I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, oh, I have a vision board on my wall. And what it is it's not, on poster board or whatever, but on the end of my hall, when I walk down the end of my hall to the bedrooms, I have a picture of my husband and I wedding picture on the wall. And I have a cross stitch of precious moments that I had cross-stitched for him for one anniversary, saying together forever or something, our togetherness, proof of our love. And then I've got you can get these little sayings all the way down that are positive sayings. And I thought, we've been married 50 years. We just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. But every time I walk down that hall, that's the vision I see. So, we have to look at what are we looking at? What are our thoughts? And where do we want to go? Because if we don't go forward, and this is why I started doing this work, is because after the psychologist said, you don't have to work with me anymore, I said, now what? There was nothing after, and I still haven't found anybody that works with you after to help you find out who you are now. Because once you remove something, there's a void. Exactly. And if you don't fill it with something else, you could easily slip back into that void backwards. And so it's so important to find what you love. I went through this in a time when they weren't looking at police officers having this, never mind a police dispatcher. Right. That just wasn't heard of.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, I saw a psychologist outside of work because I thought it was car accident. So like many of the ones that that you talk to, there's the stigma, but I wasn't in the, I had to see the forced doctor in that because I was off work. And I was blessed to find someone that was amazing. And because I had to be off work, he said, Janet, go do something that has nothing to do with work. So I took a night school class of a voiceover. But it's like we are focused, and our lives, our friends, our, everything we do And especially for the guys who've been deployed, the men and women that have been deployed, that's their family. They live with them, they sleep with them, they eat with them, and they're gone for how many months, and then they come home and it's, who am I now at home?
Right.
It's hard to separate, and it's hard for the family. So I'm blessed with the fact that my husband was a police officer before I ever joined. So one night I was working late. I had to work, and here we can go back to technology here. We didn't have the photo faxes. We had like a Gestetner. I don't know if you know what a Gestetner is. And we were winding. So I was waiting for a photograph to come in from Ottawa, but it had to go around and around. It wasn't like just put it in the photo fax.
Right.
And I got home and I was late, and he says, well, did you put in for overtime? And I just said, voluntary overtime. I had heard that so many times. And then another night, the kids were away, and he phones me and he says, you know, it's lonely at home at night when nobody's home. I says, well, welcome to my world. So, you know, I understand the spousal side as well as like being part of that. So I think I was 7 or 8 years married before we got in, but I did almost 40 years just between full-time and contract work after.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's me.
Well, you know, really, thank you so much for those vivid shares. And, you know, thanks also for pointing out that, you know, anything's possible, right? And that, you know, no matter what anyone's dealing with, and that's really what we're here inside this 24-hour period, right? Is to have people be aware that they're not alone, right? And what they're dealing with is, it, you know, the word that's coming up for me is curable, right? It's a moment in time. But you know, those moments can just seem like they go on forever when you're there alone, and, you know, to not be alone. And that's what TCRMI is, you know, really committed to and passionately engaged in, is, you know, making sure everybody knows they're not alone. And all we have to do is connect them, right? Connect them with the right.
And you know what? That's what the power of our story does. That's what this does. It's just start talking about it, because when it's tucked under, that's where it festers. It's like a sliver, right? If you don't get it out, it's going to fester, and then one day it's going to blow up. That just, not literally, but you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, sometimes, literally. You know, it is literal. So, you know,
I saw across the line, Vicky, I think it was Vicky, said, thanks for your service. You know what? I thank you for the comment. We do, you know what? I love my job, you know, and you know, there's ups and downs in every job, but what is the feeling it gives you? You know, to be able to serve and be able to get help to that little girl, and you know, we can turn anything around as well. So this young police officer who shot himself, he gave me a gift. And I think that when we can look at stuff like that, things that are tragedies, losses, whatever, but they're learning and they're gifts. So what happened was, there had been a murder-suicide, and he had to come in. And I want people to know that in Canada, we have a lot of remote areas. So I was dispatching out of Vancouver, British Columbia, but this officer you very seldom see them. We just talked to them on the radio, and he had to take a ferry to where he was, and that. So it's not somebody that we see all the time. We're not in the same office or anything. Anyways, he had to come in for discovery or whatever it was, and there was just him and I in the radio room, and he said to me, Jen, I just can't rationalize this one in my head. He was young, he was single, and he says, I just cannot rationalize this in my head. And so it was about 6 months later he took his life. But it took me a long time, but I finally realized the gift he gave me, because the man who introduced my husband and I shot himself 3 days before our wedding at my mother-in-law's place. And I look back at that now and I see what he was going through. And I thought, that makes sense now. He couldn't rationalize what was happening in his life at that time. So when we can look at things in a different way, so we've got our mindset and we've got choices, but we can change. If we look at it enough, we can change that around. So it's like, so we have something negative. How do you reframe it into something positive? So what happened there, I reframed it into something that I could relate to, that made sense to me. And it's like, I don't know whether you've ever seen a child throwing a temper tantrum.
No.
All of a sudden you bring out ice cream out or something. Well, I watched on YouTube one time, this kid was just standing on the car seat, just throwing this temper tantrum, and her favorite song came on, and it was just like that, and she's dancing and happy. And you know, we have that ability.
Yes.
We have that ability to do, but it's a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it absolutely is a choice. And Janet, thank you for, really bringing that space of where one day you can be talking to someone and the next day they could take their lives. Yeah. And again, that's what has us having this conversation at 1 a.m. Eastern time, right? That's our commitment. That's just, there's an end to that, and exactly what you're pointing to, because in that darkest moment, all you can see is the darkness. But like that, if a song were to have come on for that person, right, boom, not fast, they could be pulled out of it. And so, please, people, your every dollar counts. Please make your donations during this fundraiser, and show your support for what we're supporting, which is that we can end those kind of tragic, unnecessary moments in humanity. Right? Yeah,
definitely. And talk to some of these people. There's lots of programs on, and lots of people that care. They really care. And just know that. And when you talk about changing that moment, we have another friend that's in the Power of Our Story, and he had been going out with his weapon, and he had made his decision. And as he's going out, his dog bit him in the back of his leg. So it broke the moment. So in neuro-linguistic programming, we call it the break the state, right?
Yep.
So when that can happen, and that's why, do a contingency plan or something. Have a buddy or somebody. If you're going through it, please share it. And I don't know if you're getting that, but I'm getting feedback from somewhere.
I am not getting any feedback.
I can hear myself talking.
Okay. Well, I know you've been having some challenges tonight with your technology, and we really acknowledge you for staying with it despite, the issues that you've been having over there. So
as long as you guys aren't getting it, that's okay.
Yeah. Good. Great. Well, and I really appreciate what you also brought up just now, is that connection that we have with animals. And, if there's people out there that, just for whatever reason, right, they just are not comfortable with other human beings, which, sometimes I can't really blame them,
yeah, there are some,
right. But I just love that story you just told about the dog who bit his leg. It's that they're so perceptive, right? And just to remind people that also is a really great vehicle, to keep someone, in a great state. I mean, it's statistically proven over and over and over again, the difference that animals can make for our health. And so thank you for bringing that into the conversation tonight as well. That was really great. Really great. Is there anything, I know we kind of started this conversation tonight. It was, we're in those midnight hours and we've been joking about, hey, it's adult time. Like, we know it isn't the case everywhere, right? But we're playing that. I was going to tease Dorothy early and say, this is the rated R version of the show.
I heard her. So,
right. But what playful thing would you like to put in tonight, inside of, also, I really love what you shared at the earlier part of the hour, which is the power of laughter, and the difference that can make.
Yeah, to remember. And I just want to address, Mark just said it was a police service dog. I know it was a dog that he got to help him. And I don't know whether it was a retired one or not, but that would have to be his story. But we have to go back to the question.
What we were talking about is the power of laughter and fun.
Yeah. And that's it. And so, just to give an example, I did an interview one time, and I call it my 5 stages through PTSD.
Okay.
And I know they've changed that because it's not really a disorder for people. That D shouldn't be there, but that's what it is in the books. And I think that's going to change it. It is an injury, and it is healable. It's the right thing. But first comes the trauma. Then we have to recognize it and look for help. Then we can work and build that community of help. Then we do recover. But what everybody forgets is to celebrate. Because I could have died in that car accident, and I didn't. So my 50th birthday was up and coming, and I told my daughter, I says, I might not have been here. Throw me a big party. And I think we need to realize that we need to look at that. We're still here.
Yeah.
Some didn't make it, but remember them through what they laughed about. Like on the Power of Our Story last night, it was just a fun thing. Like you guys were doing an hour before I came on. You guys were having fun and you were laughing and you're joking. We need more of that in our lives. And so do our veterans, because they were so stoic and that in their careers,
right,
that was frowned upon, they would have fun, but periods of it, but more than anything, there was seriousness. They had a job to do and they did it. And that wears on you, when you don't take that time for real laughter, not getting drunk and that, but to really enjoy your life, enjoy the moment. If you like sunsets, go and watch it. If you like photography, my husband, after he retired, was really lost. And he finally went back to doing photography, what he did before we were even together. That was his joy. And so find your joy somewhere and use that laughter. And our friends are different because they don't always understand, right? Friends we had growing up or who didn't go into that type of career don't necessarily understand. And so that they need to understand that they have to relearn to laugh and they have to relearn to have fun and be a kid. It's nothing to be ashamed of, to act like a child.
Well, and God actually calls us, right? Be like the little children.
Yeah.
Laughter. Anybody who even remotely knows me, knows that I'm very clear that fun and laughter and play, discovery, that whole world, it's so critical. And it's not, it's almost like it's being pulled out of us, you know, and that, you know, there really is to stand for, you know, putting that in for people and making sure that they, like, it's almost like they feel like they've got to have permission because, you know, there's just so much going on.
Well, here, I give them permission.
There you go. I love you.
You know what? And you're right. You're right. Because we live under orders, right? We're told what to do. We're told we have to do this. Nobody tells us to have fun and laugh. And I think that should be mandatory. It's like, you know, completing the pie, right?
Yes.
There's a piece missing if you don't have all of it.
Yes.
You know, you miss the joy in life. Like, listen to a baby laugh. Like, it's pure.
Mm-hmm.
It's pure.
Yeah.
And we can do that. We have to relearn it though. And so to find that, I can remember one time the kids were away and my husband and I went to a movie, and we went to a matinee, and we come out of the theater and I said, "Oh, I'd like to go to that movie." And he says, "Okay." And we went to the next movie.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, so here you guys can laugh. You can laugh at me. I'm going to tell you something that was very embarrassing,
Awesome.
but I hope you have a good laugh. Okay. So I went to a retreat with a bunch of other people to Costa Rica. And so we could pick different things we want to do. And I loved horses. I had my own horse when I was 14. I would ride anything. So anyways, it's been years, and I says, "Okay, let's go horseback riding." So one of the other girls says, "Okay, we'll go on this trail ride." And so we did, and it was fine. It got on okay, and we went and ride. I dismounted, got back on, and came up. And when we were finished the ride, it was time to dismount. And what happened is it was a Western saddle, so the horn, somehow my underwire bra got caught on the horn, and I'm sort of hanging. No. And this poor Costa Rican man didn't know what to do to help me. And long story short, I did finally get off, but I couldn't see his face. But my friend said, he was like, "What do I do with this woman?" So that's having some fun.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. And, you know, it has so much power, laughter and play. And really, you know, thank you, Janet, for giving me the chance to, you know, put that in tonight and have it be part of the show, that it really does make the difference. And, you know, that we encourage people to do that. And if you're, you know, I was working with one of my partners the other day, and we were working a women's retreat, and, you know, restoring a bunch of women. And, you know, after working hours and days, it's like, I just like stopped, and we literally watched one sitcom after other and just belly laughed, you know, and to let people know that, you know, if you're out there and you're alone and you're not comfortable even connecting, right? You know, it's like, go watch something that makes you laugh. Go listen to something that makes you laugh. You know, turn on music. Yeah. You know, I love what you said earlier about, like, one of the benefits of the technology age that we're in now is, you know, to be able to go, "Hey, Google," or "Hey, Alexa," and play your favorite song, you know, and get up and dance and just do that state change, like you pointed to.
Change your state.
And it'll change it all. It'll change it all. So
I have to comment on Mark. Mark, if I ever get to meet you, I want to hear your alien kidnapping story. He was talking. He said that they were on a cruise and they had this story, and they still 3 years later still laugh about it. So these are the things we have to create. Yeah, he says, "I went on a cruise with a friend and I told stupid jokes about aliens kidnapping and other silliness, and we still laugh about it 3 years later." That's what we need to create more of. you know, that laughter and that fun. And like I said last night on the Power of the Story, we were just goofy and we just had a really, really good time, and we need laughter so much. So you guys, please donate and help get this off the ground so that or have more people able to go to make that difference, right? Because they will have that laughter. They will go on that sailboat, and it won't happen day one, day two. They may start feeling, and sometimes you'll go through that awkward, uncomfortable stage. Let's face it, it's a roller coaster. We're changing everything about us to go back to that childlikeness, and it takes time. So give yourself permission to take that time to go and do it, to jump in on it and do it, you know, and you're going to come back as if you're so much lighter. You can get rid of whatever's there, and you know, take a journal with you. I teach journaling workshops and how we can change our lives just even through journaling.
You know, thank you for bringing that up. That's really beautiful. Janet, say a little bit more about journaling. You know, there's a lot of things that people take for granted that, you know, we think that they know about. So say a little bit more about journaling and the power of journaling.
Well, I think that I can remember, and going back to childhood, a friend and I, we were about 10. We found her older sister's journal and we read it. So I never wrote in a journal because I was afraid somebody would read it. I really think that's what stops some people. But I found that throughout different times in my life, if I was upset about something, I wrote about it. And like I can remember one time I was upset with my husband and I wrote him a letter. I got up in the middle of the night and I wrote this letter and I put it on his desk. And the next morning I says, "Did you get the letter?" And he says, "Yeah." I says, "Did you read it?" He says, "No." I says, "Why not?" He says, "Did you feel better after you wrote it?" Yeah. So one of the things I teach is to do a forgiveness letter or a release letter. And and sometimes it's ourselves we have to forgive. So I play this. I read this story. It's by Neil Donald Walsh, and it's called "The Little Soul in the Sun." And I read this story about how God says, "You know what? You're all perfect, and you know what? But you make choices, and we're here to support you in that." So, anyways, I read that story, and then I have them write their letter. And when I do it in a place where we can have a fire, they burn the letter after. If I do it in a classroom, I stay in the back of the room or wherever the door is, and they bring their letters. When they're finished, they rip it all up and they leave the room. Because everything in life we ritualize, everything important, right? Yeah. So for me, it's a way of writing that letter, ripping it up, and leaving the room. You've left it behind. You've ritualized it. When I do it at home for myself, and I've done it for cases like when our dog had to be put down, I wasn't home. I felt so guilty about it, and I just couldn't get her off my mind. I wrote her a letter, and I put a little bit of essential oil on, and I took it out, and I burnt it in a safe place. And you know, another way of journaling.
Well, hold on, Janet. What actually materialized for you inside? I mean, that's too juicy to step over.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm here. No. It was really great what you were pointing to, and you know, what were you really present to after you did that?
Oh, it was like a weight lifted off. Like it's like I was connected to her, and it was like, I guess I had to forgive myself more than anything. Like she's gone, and her memory will always be here. And so when in saying that, you know what, you could do that if you lost a friend.
Yeah.
Write them and tell them how much you love them and that, and just let the universe, God, the angels, whoever you want to believe, because it is a release.
It is.
It's a ritual. just like a funeral or a marriage or a bar mitzvah. These are rituals of a passing of time. So
thank you. Yeah, that I appreciate that you're walking them through the process, and it's just really to get, what happened, on the other side of it, and so and the real power of it, which is really brilliant. Thank you for that. That's a huge gift to give away.
Well, it was a gift to me when I was first told to do that, because there's somebody I really needed to forgive, and they said write them a letter, and I says I'm not writing them a letter, and she said to me, you don't have to mail it. And just that, knowing that, just takes that angst away.
Sure.
And you have the freedom to let it flow.
Yeah. 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 And it's real. It's very, very real.
Totally real. It is powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's something that, I've gotten really clear on over the years and decades, and the wisdom of, this is a vessel, and everything that we deal with, it's either going to get stuck in here or it's going to flow through. Right. And
I just remembered something I'm supposed to tell you guys. Greg has asked me, I think it's January 25th, I'm going to do an intro to journaling. And then we're going to talk about maybe a program, of doing a program. If there's enough interest, we're going to do a 12-week program. And we're going to use the book, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay. Good night, Mark.
Good night, Mark.
So I forgot. Greg told me, as we just
that's a spoiler alert. That's a spoiler alert. Go ahead and say that again. Just again, you some of the stuff you're just putting it out there so fast that I don't know that people are grabbing a hold of it.
So Greg has asked me, and we've set it up for January 25th. Go on his website. He'll have it all on his website. And we're going to do like a journaling info session, and share with what they can do in that, and see if they want to go on a 12-week journey with us on that. And then I'll be in your shoes, you guys, because the time we're doing it, I think it's 7:00 at night Eastern time. I'm going to be in the UK. So I'll be in your shoes.
All right. What will the time be there for you?
I think for Eastern, I think it's probably 6 or 7 hours difference.
Okay, so that would
maybe not, maybe only 5. I'd have to check.
Okay, all right.
But
well, it's all relative, right? It's
just have a couple of maybe cappuccinos or something. Or...
That's right. I've been doing the Bang. Have you tried Bang?
No, I don't do energy, but coffee will do it. Or if I have something with caffeine, that's all I need.
This is all healthy. Everything in here.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It's really good. It's good for you.
I saw Dorothy jump in there for a minute. Is she gone?
Yeah, she's getting our next guest set up, and with that, Janet, any last words you'd like to put in or share? Or promote inside of what we're up to in this 24-hour period?
Well, I'm available if anybody wants me on their stage. I'm happy to share my journey and do workshops. I use the success principles. I do vision boards. And when you're ready to move forward, look for somebody like me that's ready to help you move forward, because that's how I got onto this. This is how I started taking all of my programs and that, because I needed to heal me on outside of that professional psychologist.
Absolutely. And you know what, Janet, the thing that we love about you so much, and again, at TCRMI, this is the work we do for you. We vet out, and we find those people that are, doing the real work. Right. And you really live, Janet, in the sustaining part, like you were saying, it's one thing to deal with the trauma in the midst of the trauma. But like you said, if you empty out an area, if you empty out a space, nature absorbs a vacuum.
And you're a totally different person.
Yeah.
You need to find out who you are.
Yeah. And if you don't guide that, you can go backwards so fast. And that's what TCRMI is, really committed to, is that, not only are people healed, right, of whatever ails them, but that, like you're saying, they have a path to run and leap into, right, that calls them powerfully forward. And, we really can't thank you enough for who you are and what you're, delivering to the world, and all of us in it. And all of us at TCRMI just love you to pieces. And we're just so happy to be in this journey with you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here and to help Greg in everywhere I can. Those guys, every one of those people that go on that sailboat or to the equine, they have a mission, and they just have to find it, because we can change the world together.
Yes. One soul at a time, right? One soul at a time.
Thank you guys so much for doing this.
No, thank you. And, Janet, we love you, and, stay with us through the 24 hours, as I know that you will. And for everybody out there, here we go. Like, what hour are we on? I can't even see.
You're beyond 9, I think.
Thank you for keeping track for us, Janet. Thank you so much. Any last words, any great quotes, anything that you'd like to put in?
Well, I have a favorite saying. It's my tagline. Life is a team sport, and when we all work together, miracles happen. So let's keep helping those miracles happen.
One more time.
Life is a team sport, and when we all work together, miracles happen. And let's keep those miracles happening.
Amen. Amen, Janet. From your lips to God's ears to everyone's souls.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. This hour went fast.
I know, it just flew.
I hope it goes as fast for everyone else out there.
Okay, you guys have a great night, and thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, absolutely. Love you. Love you all. On to, what is it, hour 9 or 10, Janet?
9, I think.
Okay, here we go. Good night.
Night.